Yeah, good. So are you saying it is? And they can go, yes. And that's when you go, do you agree with that? And they go, yes, I do agree with that. Or is that agreement between you and me signed on a piece of paper before the judge? These are some of the questions, but the problem is it's kind of like doing like third dan martial arts and starting your white belt. You got to start with the white belt and move up. Does anyone understand martial arts?
Heard of it before.
Yeah, so you don't go straight into these questions if you don't really know what you're doing, because a lot of people, if you don't renew the mind and you start asking these questions, that what we're kind of asking at the moment, I know a lot of people who have asked these questions and they've had to go to jail. They've had to do this because they're not able to control their tongue. On one hand, they're going, what do you mean by your? And then they ask another question and then they start spewing out information. So the first question, it's null and void. It's basically, you know, your fruits are rotten.
So the first thing they ask you here in court is, are you the name?
Start off with, are you? Are you saying I am? But I go straight into court and go, why am I here? That's the first thing.
Well, a popular thing here is they like to say, well, if you're not here or you're not the name, then we'll just issue a warrant for the name.
So you can go, why am I here? And they can go, see, to me, I've been messing around with this name for years and years, and I realised once you get over the name, you can actually deal with the actual charge. And that's the most important thing. You need to deal with the charge, the offence, right? So now I go into court and they go, are you Daniel Alessic, blah, blah, blah. I just go present and I don't give a shit for the name. I just go straight into present, because when you're in kindergarten, when there's a kid, they did the name calling and they'd go, Joe Blow, present, and that's it. You just go present, right? And that's all you need to say. And then they go, what do you wish to do with the charges today? There's a charge of such and such and such. And that's when you go, you can start off with, oh, why am I here? Okay? And then they go, then you've got to listen to what they're saying. But mostly down here, they will basically go, what do you wish to do with the charges? Now, what that means is, what they're saying is, do you wish to take possession of the possessor's property? That's what they're saying. This is court. And court is all about taking possession of the possessor's property. And when you bring up claimant or claim or any terminology, the judge will see it as your terminology, and you'll find yourself in perilous waters, because you are in court and you're in possession of terminology. Whatever they bring up, it all comes back to, if you bring up terminology, you've pretty much consented to the jurisdiction of the court. So you want to be very, very careful in bringing up any terminology in court. And I found when they ask, how do you plead? I go, why am I here? And then they go, and then they stick to the plea. They hammer the plea. They need to get a plea out here. And that's where I go, how's one to do such a thing unless someone told me I was there. And then I just go, are you saying I was there? Because are you saying I was there? It's got to do with where and when. There needs to be a where and when for there to be a charge. There needs to be a place and a time that there's been an agreement of discussion held between two parties. And it can be a fiction, or it can be someone, it can be an agent or whoever. It doesn't actually have to be real, but you just need to verify that out of your mouth, and then it becomes real.
And then an agent steps up and says, well, I say you were there.
Good. So you focus only on the judge, right? And then that if an agent says that, then that's where you go, do you agree with that? Because in the scripture, if it's true, it says, agree with thine adversary quickly.
Matthew 5:25, brother. Absolutely. So,
Oh, God, there you go, brother.
So what happens when you agree with your adversary quickly? Can you tell me what is on the other side of that when you have done that?
Hey, if I may share what is on the other side. Basically, do you, like, for example, how things are done down here is the judge will bring you the charge and so forth. Then they will go through all the evidence of the charges and everything that you've done. You've been a naughty boy. They've got video surveillance. They've got recordings. They've got all the bullshit that you can imagine. So you let them go ahead and do whatever they're doing, and then the judge is going to ask, do you have any questions for the informant? And then you say, and then you ask, would it be okay if I ask a question for the informant? And then the judge will go, no problem. Yep, no worries. Ask the question. And then the informant, he reads out, or they read out all the bullshit. It's like sometimes it's a 20-minute reading out all the charges and all the things you've done wrong. And then all you need to do is just go, do you agree with that? And he's going, absolutely. I agree with every little part of that. And that's fantastic, right? So you're agreeing with him. And then after he agrees, you just go, well, is there a signed agreement between you and me on a piece of paper before the judge? And basically, there is no agreement that's signed on the piece of paper. All charges are pretty much wiped out. But that doesn't happen that easy, because they will do whatever they can to bamboozle you. And if you've got a head full of knowledge and you haven't done the renewing of the mind, they're going to extract some kind of sap out of the pie hole, and it's going to fuck you up. This is the daily bread. This is the daily bread if it's spoken about in the scripture. Right, this is the daily bread, is the renewing of the mind on a daily basis, to always keep in subjection all thoughts to the possessor, to the maker, to the Father, whatever you want to call it. I know this is all strange concepts, but until you live in it, until you're trying it out or doing it, I should say, no, who's going to really know for sure how this really works? Well,
what makes me think I own such a thing?
Well, for starters, it's what makes me think I own such a thing. The biggest thing with all of this, brothers, is if you believe you are your own, it's very hard to snap out of that. You're not your own in the scripture. You're bought with a price, and when you basically believe that you are your own, you basically you believe that it's your will. Even Christ. Hang on a second. What?
Let not my will be done, but thy will
be done. If it's true in the scripture, it says, "Let not thy will be done." I'll rephrase it. Let not my will be done, but let thy will be done. And that means it's not my will; it's the Father's will. It's the possessor's will. The I am and the Father are one. Who's the possessor of all things? In whose hands is the breath of all life? And that's where we're coming to, boys and girls. It's a rude awakening when you think that you actually believe that they're your thoughts, and yet who can pinpoint exactly where those thoughts come from? I really like to know. Because if you don't know where those thoughts come from, what makes you think that you are your own? Yeah, and to even imagine or conceive that you believe you own, this thing called the will. That's got to be the greatest sale in the history of this world, and everyone bought it. Could that, if that's true, everyone bought it? That means we all believe that we are our own, and we all speak from the identification of I am. Yeah. Every time you get upset about someone, right? Being upset with someone's all comes back to identification. Someone's pissed you off today. How can someone piss you off without being identified to something? Imagine walking around without a care of this world. Yeah. Whose world is it? Well, put it in the hands of the possessor. Why are you in possession of it? Yeah? Come as a child. A lot more fun.
Beautiful, brother.
Well, it's quite painful, actually, brothers. It might be beautiful, but it's a hell of a pain of a journey. Extreme pain and suffering. And possession is not an easy gig. It's reducing thyself to zero. And when you ask these questions, what do you mean by your? What do you mean by have? What do you mean by got? What you're finding is it's a reduction of intelligence. Very few people, if anything, I'm led to believe, if anything, I've come across few people who actually put their hand up and go, oh, I'd love a reduction of intelligence. Who doesn't want to increase themselves in intelligence? This is the first program, brother. When I say it's simple, the simplicity is extraordinary. Once you start seeing the simplicity of it, it's so simple, and yet it ain't easy. It's actually most people, like in the Matrix, he sticks to the stake. He wants the stake, and he just wants all the pleasures of this world. It seems to be easy. The illusion of that seems to be easier, but the suffering that can come from that. Well, if we don't do the work on a daily basis, the suffering can be quite immense. That's all. All comes back to possession.